Good morning. Welcome to the Cheryl and Shirley Show. Today, I have a guest. She's been on before, Elizabeth Gebert. She's a prosecutor, has been for 16 years. The reason that I had her on the first time was just because we wanted to talk a little bit about victims in crime, issues like that, and she's very passionate about that. Now, Elizabeth has thrown her hat in to run for circuit court judge in Wood County, Wisconsin. Welcome today, Elizabeth, and I kind of wanted to see exactly why you decided to step into the ring to run for circuit court judge.
Yeah, good morning or good afternoon, Cheryl. Wow, it's after 12 already. I decided to run for judge here in Wood County, Wisconsin, because I'm looking at the county and I think now is a good time for me to step forward and run to bring the prosecution voice back to the bench in Wood County. Right now, I have a lot of respect for all of the judges in Wood County, but they all come from a defense background. And as a career prosecutor, I bring a very different perspective to the bench. As a prosecutor, I have been focused on public safety, like we talked about in our last podcast, seeking justice for crime victims, doing whatever I
Mhm.
can to make victims feel whole. And then also as a prosecutor, something that I am always very focused on is making sure that every person's constitutional rights are being upheld. In the state of Wisconsin, victims do have a constitutional right or various constitutional rights under the Wisconsin Constitution. Also, defendants have a right to obviously all of their constitutional rights under the Wisconsin Constitution and the US Constitution. And then there's also due process when it comes to individuals in any sort of a suit in court. I am a firm believer and advocate for everybody's constitutional right. I strive to be, like I always say, the most ethical person in the courtroom. I feel that with my experience and my perspective that I am the right candidate to take the bench in Wood County at this time.
I noticed that you had like upholding the law, dedicated to following the letter of the law. And that's basically what you just talked about, which is true. And I think it's so important nowadays because we have a lot of judges that are on benches that believe they can legislate from the bench instead of actually doing their job, which is following the law. Appreciate that very much out of you. Tell us a little bit about what your background is. I mean, 16 years in prosecution, we know, and it hasn't all been in Wood County. We know that you've had other jobs in other districts or other areas. The passion for Wood County has been there for a long time. Maybe share with us about that too.
Yeah, my passion for Wood County really comes from being from Wood County. I started my legal career in Wood County. I actually moved after I graduated from law school, moved back home with my parents who lived in Wisconsin Rapids. And that was how I started my career. For the first 5 years of my career as a prosecutor, I was in the Wood County District Attorney's Office. After that period of time in Wood County, I was offered a job by Portage County to be in the DA's office there. And I really felt that gaining some different perspective is an important part of experience, learning not only how the judges in Wood County do things, but how the judges in other counties do things, I think is important for having a well-rounded career. And as a prosecutor, really the only way that you get to see other judges is by moving to other district attorneys' offices. As a prosecutor, when you're employed in for example, the Wood County district attorney's office, all of my cases are in Wood County. And the only time I would see a judge from another county is if there was a substitution. And then I might get a judge from Clark County or Adams back when I was in the Wood County DA's office. Really, you don't get to see how a lot of different judges do things. So through my career, in order to prepare myself to someday run for judge, I made the decision to work in various capacities in different counties in the state of Wisconsin, including serving as the elected district attorney of Langlade County up in the northern part of Wisconsin for
Mhm.
6 years. So gained experience running a district attorney's office, do that leadership kind of a role, and then experience in Marathon County District Attorney's Office for a number of years. In Marathon County, there are 6 judges,
Huh?
so a lot of different judges to experience in Marathon County. And now, while I'm running for judge, my friend who is the district attorney of Monroe County reached out and asked me if I would come and work for him in his office, bringing my experience to help with improving their search warrants and helping with law enforcement training, doing some higher level stuff, as well as helping with charging and prosecuting all of the offenses, everything from sexual assaults to um, drunk driving, everything in between, which is what I've done throughout my career. My experience really as a prosecutor, I would say the majority of my experience is in sensitive crimes. So sexual assault, homicides, domestic violence. I think I talked about that a little bit on the last podcast, so I won't go into that too much. I'm very excited to now come back to Wood County and bring this experience back here to Wood County, having this breadth of knowledge about how different courts do things differently, seeing things that I think work, things that don't work, observing the demeanor of different judges, finding new strategies to maintain court decorum, to make sure that people feel respected in the courtroom, to make sure that everybody is appropriate, calm in court. And I feel that all of that experience I'm bringing back just to benefit my home county, which is here in Wood County.
I have to say that I think that getting the experience from many different counties is very, very wise, especially when obviously you've been looking to run for judge for a while in your own professional realm. You have looked at that over time, and now is the time for you to run, and there's a position in Wood County. We talked a lot about how you helped victims and things like that, and that I think that's really important. That was something that brought me more towards you, because I believe that we need that. We need judges, we need prosecutors that will look at victims and say, hey, this has made a very large impact in their life. What can we do to this criminal? Because it seems like a lot of times the criminal gets more attention than anyone else. Oh, poor this, poor that. I understand, and I have deep respect and regard for judges and prosecutors who will work across that and try to help, people that have maybe first time offense, maybe whatever. I think it's really important for people out here. I've been very fortunate. I haven't had to be in the court system, and I'm grateful for that. If I did have to be, I want a judge that's going to be fair to the victim of the crime. Like when we talk about sexual assaults on the last one, we talked about and how passionate you were about that, and you could do as a judge to help in that. I think it's really important that the citizens know that, and know that you really are someone who will focus on what's right for victims, not just the perpetrators of the crime. Of course, you have to focus on them too.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's just the thing, is really cases against the defendant. The defendant is a party to the action and the victim is not. And that, I always tell people that I wouldn't want to be a prosecutor in a system where the defendant didn't have all the rights that they do. I think that it's important that it is a high burden for the state to convict a person, right? To have a person found guilty of a crime. I wouldn't want that to be easy. It should be, we are a country of freedoms, and there is a lot that our system is structured to make sure that our individual rights are protected. And I believe in that. Then also victims, I think that they deserve to have the rights they do, because they don't volunteer to become victims of crimes. They don't say, hey, please come and sexually assault me, but break into my house, or whatever the case might be, something they voluntarily choose to do. So our system, really, we need to say to the victims, and fortunately in Wisconsin, they do actually have now constitutional right, even just sort of from a moral perspective, to say, because of how this has impacted you as a human being, you deserve to understand what's going on, and you deserve to give input about what you think should happen because of how this impacted you. Yes, balancing, the protections of the defendant, the rights of the defendant, and the attempt to try to do something to give a little bit of restorative justice to the victim. It's a good system. And I know there are judges who disagree with that, and there are judges who don't want to give victims as the rights that they're entitled to now under the Wisconsin Constitution. I don't think that's fair. I think that the victims should have the right to give as much input as they have the right to. I think that's really important.
I do too. Why don't we talk a little bit about your campaign? Where are you on your campaign? I know it's only almost the end of January, and obviously this goes really fast because you don't start till like the 6th of January, and you have to go. I think election day is April 7th, folks. Election day is April 7th. So get the information, become informed, and vote for the right person for the job. Where are you on your candidacy, and what is the name of your candidacy? Why don't we go through that too?
It's Elizabeth Gebert for judge is my campaign committee. My website is elizabethforjudge2026.com, and my Facebook is Elizabeth Gebert for judge. Those are all of the ways that you can find me on the internet. If you want to learn more about me, my website does have some more information about my personal background and ways to get involved in my campaign, yard signs, contributions, whatever people might be interested in doing. At this point in my campaign, I have 3 events scheduled in February. Next Thursday, that's February 5th, at the Ridges Golf Course in Wisconsin Rapids. We are having conversations with Elizabeth Gebert. It's pizza and beer complimentary, and soda complimentary. And then at the event, there will be the opportunity to sign up for different ways to get involved, take a yard sign with you when you go home, that sort of thing. And then we'll be doing the same kind of event in Marshfield 2 weeks later. That's on February 19th at 6:30 at Nuts Deep 2, very popular bar downtown Marshfield. So that will be February 19th. And then February 22nd, there will be an event at Rooted in Red that will be more for the ladies. That is going to be an open house with a opportunity to do a little bit of clothes shopping. So in the winter, when we're all going a little crazy, being locked up inside and it's -14 out or whatever it was this morning, going out to Rooted in Red for some cabbie shopping. There'll be a cash bar, some nice hors d'oeuvres. I will be baking some cookies for that event. I love to bake cookies, so baking some cookies, and that'll be a nice February 22nd at 1 o'clock at Rooted in Red, which is here in Wisconsin Rapids as well. So that's coming
Okay.
up. Those are the events coming in February.
That's in February.
So,
And is there
yep.
like a door knocking day or something too coming up?
I'll be door knocking probably every Saturday, starting the last Saturday in February. So if people want to help out with door knocking, certainly that is something that's going to be a big part of my campaign. I actually personally really enjoy knocking doors. My husband's campaign, when he ran for office a couple of years ago, I personally knocked 1,000 doors, and I plan on doing at least that many this time around too. So getting out and talking to people, I really love doing that. So the big days for doing that will probably be pretty much like I said, every Saturday starting the last Saturday in February, I would guess, going all the way through to the last weekend before Election Day.
And I know you've been attending a lot of different meetings and things like that, which I think is a really good way to get to know people too. As when you're running for judge in a county like Wood, it's a tough gig, a wide area. I mean, we go from Rapids all the way up to Marshfield, but then you have all the small towns in between and around. It is a very large area. So I know it's very time consuming, and I know it's a lot of time that you're spending on it. You started that, I mean, right out of the gate. I appreciate all that you're doing. I do think that you will do a good job if elected. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are rooting for you. I've met a lot of them myself. What do you think is the key to why you're running and what makes you different than the other candidate?
I would say what makes me different is my experience. So not only do I have the 16 years of prosecution experience that is, like I said, is different. My opponent is a defense background. She was a public defender. That's something that distinguishes me. And then the other thing is also my trial experience. I have personally, on my own, I have prosecuted to a jury trial I've had over 30 different jury trials that I have conducted myself as the prosecutor for the state of Wisconsin. That really sets me apart because I have had so much experience in jury trial on my own. And then the other thing I think that is really important is that I'm a small town girl myself. I enjoy getting out and talking to people in small towns. I really been telling people about how much I loved going out on dairy farms. I've had a lot of relatives who had dairy farms when I was growing up, and lots of friends on dairy farms. So I just love talking to the cows and helping with the barn cats. I'm a real animal lover. So getting out in the Getting out in the barn is actually something I have always enjoyed doing. I'm just a really down to earth kind of person. And I think that the perspective I bring is a very practical perspective that is the way I think I look at things the way people in Wood County would look at cases.
That is the most important part, truly, is if you can serve a county properly and you know the differences between all areas. And I think that's really important too. You prosecuted in Wood County for a while, didn't you, when you first started?
Yeah, 5 years in Wood County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's out of 16 years experience. I think my fascination with prosecutors is that they have to learn how to work with many different kinds of people at all times, even law enforcement. Now, when you're talking about what you're doing in Monroe County, that sounds very interesting to me. It's something that I know you have support from some people in the law enforcement area too. That's important for us to know as well. I know protecting public safety is very important to you, and that's something that is important to me as well and important to many people in Wood County. My question then would be, how has this changed your perspective on what you do? Running as a candidate is a lot different than working as a prosecutor. And I know that there's stressful days, obviously. There's times where you're not able to bake cookies, which I know you like to do. That's like a relaxation thing for you, which is a good thing. We all need that. I wish I learned how to knit. My grandma knitted. I never learned how to knit. I wasn't very good at it. Kind of wonder, because I know this changes when you have to become a candidate. It does become different because you have to talk to, and this, by the way, folks, is a nonpartisan race. You have to reach out to everyone, and that is really important for you to do. And I know that that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Now, you have the personality for it, obviously, but I'm just saying, how has that affected how you are doing all that you're doing, your job and trying to be a candidate, trying to attend everything that you have to attend, and trying to be positive out there? I haven't seen any negativity, and I appreciate that in your campaign, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm staying positive and focused on what I bring to the position. And I think that what I bring to the position is exactly why people should vote for me. Yeah, how it's changed my life. I would say I am a very driven person and I am very much an extrovert. So not only am I outgoing and I really like talking to people, I am getting a lot less sleep than I normally do because I love it. When I get home after being out at meetings, I'm so awake and excited that it takes me a little bit longer to calm down. So maybe I'm baking cookies at 11 o'clock at night to try to unwind a little bit. Because I love being out there engaging with people. As a prosecutor, you actually spend a lot of time in your office reading, writing, a lot of time preparing your arguments and just being alone. For me, running for office is actually it's actually a very exciting and enjoyable experience because I really love engaging with the public. Yeah, so sleeping less, probably enjoying life actually a little bit more.
Good. Well, if you're elected, what would be a key that you would move towards as the judge? I mean, obviously, we've talked about you being a prosecutor for 16 years, and you would be the only one on the bench in Wood County that has that experience, which I think is fantastic. Is there some key that you would go towards in Wood County to maybe help direct so you'd be a new judge, so that's you got to kind of fit in there. I just kind of wonder about that because with your experience, I think that's really a great background for Wood County.
I do think that victims' rights would be probably the area that I could contribute the most. And the reason I say that is so this is not a judgment about defense attorneys at all. It's just the reality of the system. So because the prosecutor works with the victim and has specific obligations to confer with the victim, every day of my career, I am thinking about complying with victims' rights and making sure that victims are being given their proper opportunities in the prosecution of the case, in the court appearances, all of that. That's something I'm always thinking about as a prosecutor. When you're a defense attorney, you're focused on really the rights of your client, not so much focused on the rights of the victim. That's not the defense attorney's duty in the court process, in the criminal justice system. And so as a prosecutor, I think something that I would bring to the bench that right now doesn't exist is just the mindset of saying, are we doing what we can to make sure that the courts are a fair place for victims to be so that their rights are being respected and they feel like when they leave the court, like they were treated fairly. When you come from a defense background, really, at the end of the day, you hope that you think about the victim and the victim's right. But really, if you are doing that every single day for 16 years, going onto the bench, you're still going to be focused on the rights of the victim as well as the rights of the defendant under the
Mhm.
Wisconsin and U.S. Constitution. I think that's something that will be distinguishing for me because we're all dedicated to protecting the party's constitutional rights generally, but I bring a different perspective because I am very much trained and conditioned to consider the rights of the victim as well.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. How can people, I mean, obviously you just said, how people can find out more about you. So we know your website, your Facebook page, your, let's see, what else did we say? I know that they can find out more about you and all those events. Are those events posted so people can find out about you and they can find out there how to donate if they'd like to, how to get a sign, how to help you if they want to? I think it's really important that we get that information out too and people know that you're available too. Like if they want to talk to you, if they want to call you, you've reached out to many people and many people have reached out to you. And I've witnessed that myself too at a coffee shop. People walk right up and start talking to you, information out there. But also, I mean, there are a lot of people that go to Facebook and things like that. And honestly, listen to podcasts, which is good. Is there some other way or anything that you would like to say to people on ending? Just basically kind of saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. And I can certainly promise you if I get your vote, I will do a good job for Wood County.
Yeah, well, what I'll say is this. I hope that people have listened to this podcast closely. I would even hope that I've given them something to think about, because a lot of people don't ever think that they're going to find their way into the court system, into whether it's a criminal case or a civil case. At some point you're going to potentially be in the court system because you're the victim of a crime, because you have a family member who died and their estate is going into probate, right? Heaven forbid you find yourself going through a divorce. Something that, the court system is generally not a pleasant place for people to be. And I hope that what people have heard is something that sounds right to them for what kind of a judge they would like to hear their case, how the judge conducts the case affects the parties very much. I hope that people have heard my message and like what they hear. If people want to know more about me, I am really always open to talk to anybody. I get emails on a fairly regular basis right now from people I don't know asking me if I'm up for a phone call. Cheryl, I've actually been asked by another person if I'd do a podcast, and I said absolutely. So
Nice.
I'm always open to talking to people, right? I'm open to talking to people one on one, talking to groups. If I know there's a ladies group up in the Marshfield area that has invited me to come to one of their meetings, just I am always open to talking to people. My Facebook page is a really good way to get some information, Elizabeth Gebert for Judge. Then, through my Facebook page, you can see my website. But again, that's Elizabeth for FOR, the word, judge2026.com. And my events are posted on my Facebook, on my website every day, getting updated. Opportunities to get involved are on my website. My email is on my Facebook and my website. So if you don't want to have to try to figure out anything else, shoot me an email and I can help you get you connected and get you involved. And I would just love whatever involvement people want to give. Any kind of support is just very much appreciated and really fantastic. And sure, like you said, it's so gratifying and heartwarming to be out in public and have people come up and say, "Hey, Elizabeth, I haven't seen you in a while, and I just want to tell you I'm so excited about your campaign." That just really it warms my heart and makes my day. So please, if you see me out in public, just come on up. I'm actually as friendly as I sound.
Yes, you are, definitely. I want to say thank you to Elizabeth Gebert, who is running for circuit judge in Wood County. Please understand this is a nonpartisan race. She is a great candidate for this position. The election is April 7th. Don't forget to vote. That's part of our problem around the area too. Some people don't vote in spring elections. Please get out and vote. It's very important. I know she'll be getting signs out here soon. I want to thank her for taking the time because I know she's very busy, still working as a prosecutor as she's running as a judge. So, Elizabeth, thanks so much. And I can't wait to see you at a couple events real soon. Take care of yourself. Ernie, your dog, hello for me. And have a good
I
day.
sure will.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Cheryl and Shirley Show. Our guest today was Elizabeth Gebert, who's running running for circuit court judge in Wood County. I wish her the very best. Please like, share. You can make comments, which I always love comments. That's great. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, X. You can find me YouTube, just about anywhere. And any questions, let me know. Thank you. Have a good day.